Good evening, Canby. Welcome to the February 17th, 2021 regular City Council meeting. Thank you for your patience. I apologize for our late start. We had a series of before meeting activities, one of those being an exec session and another one being a work session on city roads and specifically county roads and us moving forward with taking those on and over from the county. So as you can imagine, that's not a easy conversation to have in an hour's time, and we didn't do it in an hour. So we thank you for your patience. Get to the right page here. First thing on the agenda tonight is a proclamation for the Iwo Jima Remembrance Day. So whereas on February 23rd, 1945, this country's armed forces were engaged in one of the most strategic and bloodiest battles of World War II, the Battle for Iwo Jima. And whereas the Canby Aurora Veterans of Foreign Wars Post and Auxiliary 6057 of the United States have deemed it fitting to erect a flagpole at the Canby Adult Center in remembrance of those who took part in this great battle. And whereas each year the members of the Canby Aurora Veterans of Foreign Wars Post 6057, their auxiliary, and their fellow veterans organizations and service organizations, i.e. Lewis and Clark Young Marines, Civil Air Patrol, Boy Scouts, Junior ROTC, etc., have conducted a ceremony to rededicate this memorial and replace the flags on the flagpole. And whereas the flagpole located at the Canby Adult Center is the only memorial in the city of Canby dedicated to our veterans who made such significant personal sacrifices during World War II in defense of this great nation. Now, therefore, I, Brian Hodson, by the virtue of the authority vested in me as the mayor of the city of Canby, do hereby proclaim February 20th, 2021 as Iwo Jima Remembrance Day. And I further call upon all members of this community to join in commemorating this great event and celebrate the 76th anniversary of the end of World War II. Given unto my hand the 17th day of February 2021 in the city of Canby, Oregon. In years past, there's always been a tremendous event at the Adult Center, and unfortunately this year, with still being in a situation of COVID and pandemic, there will not be an event this year, but please, if you think of it, stop by, take a look at the memorial. It is a pretty moving testament to our veterans of World War II to have here in Canby. Next on the agenda is citizen input and community announcement. This is an opportunity for audience members to address the City Council on items that are not necessarily on the agenda. Each person will be given 3 minutes to speak. Staff and the City Council will make every effort to respond to questions raised during citizen input before the meeting ends or as quickly as possible thereafter. If you would like to speak to the City Council virtually or in person, please email or call the City Recorder by 5 o'clock on the day of our meetings. With your name, the topic you'd like to speak, and contact information. You can do that to Bissett, BISSETM, at cambyoregon.gov. Or you can call 503-266-0733. Once your information is received, you will be sent instructions to speak. And please note that the council will be attending this meeting virtually, which we have been doing now for almost an entire year. So first off, I think Mr. Murphy, are you there, sir? There he is.
Yes, good evening. Everybody hear me?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much for being here.
So you want me to go ahead and speak to you then?
Yes, Dan, thank you, appreciate it. Thank you for being here. I thought it'd be great if you could just give us an update on Canby Utilities' efforts with the ice storm and where things are at, and all those good things.
Sure. For some reason, my camera's not on. I don't know why. Not that I'm anything special to see, but
And now we lost him. So Dan, you're still on mute if you're talking to us. There it is.
okay, I'm not. Do you see my image? Just see. Start my video. Here we go. That'll put me here. Yeah. Good evening, everybody.
Good evening, sir.
Yes. I appreciate the invitation to join you tonight and report Canby Utilities' experiences and responses that we had during the historic ice storm that hit our community last Friday. We began seeing effects of the storm actually late Thursday afternoon when we experienced several short interruptions. Some of you probably noticed that on Thursday when that storm first started coming in, and those were also affecting our Westcott substation. At that early point, we didn't have an explanation for the cause of those interruptions, but we figured it was probably the storm that we knew was coming in. Power didn't go out completely on Thursday. But Friday afternoon, this ice storm event settled in on us really good. We began having problems at about 7 p.m. We first lost power at our Westcott substation, which feeds, as you know, much of the eastern half of the city, including the Fred Meyer Shopping Center and the industrial park. There were trees down on PGE's transmission lines that feed our Westcott substation. And it wasn't very long after the similar conditions from the ice accumulations caused PGE to drop our Knightsbridge substation as well. Canby Utility, we only have 2 substations. So with that, I experienced my first in my career, a power outage that took out 100% all of our customers. That's never happened to me in my previous years. Nobody had power whatsoever beginning about 8 o'clock or so Friday night. And that's not a good feeling to realize that we'd lost all of our customers, I'll tell you. From that point on, weather conditions worsened with misting rain that caused trees and overhead electric lines to load down with ice. We watched as ice loaded down the trees and eventually limbs began to sag under the weight of the ice and break. The ice accumulated on overhead lines as well, causing conductor to sag under the weight of the ice. Eventually, during the night, the trees began giving away and doing significant damage to our overhead lines extending out of both of the substations. Saturday morning, we found a real mess throughout the city with significant damage to our overhead electric lines. So Saturday morning early, we had all hands on deck. Our operations personnel began clearing up ice breaks and repairing damaged lines. Our goal at that point, was to work steady and make all the repairs that we could while we anxiously waited for power restoration at our substations. That's what has to happen for us under these situations before we can do much else. We knew that it'd be a significant amount of time, though, before we'd see power restoration at either of the substations. So we made good use of the wait and worked for all we were worth to get as many repairs completed as possible. Now, we hoped the first substation that would come on would be the Westcott substation, since we know that substation has more capacity than the other one at Knightsbridge. If we're able to get Westcott back on first, then our plan was to shift load that normally is served off the Knightsbridge substation onto Westcott in order to get all the city restored off of that single substation. And luckily, Westcott was indeed the first substation to be brought back up on Sunday. Sunday at approximately 5 p.m., PGE notified us that they were about to make Westcott hot, and we were so glad to get that good news, I'll tell you. Our team had gotten a good jump on the line repairs during the downtime. In the end, utilizing only our Westcott substation, we were able to get virtually all of our community restored with electric service before midnight Sunday night. What remained after 10 o'clock Sunday night were those services that the ice and the trees had damaged the overhead service entrances where there were unsafe conditions requiring homeowners to first get an electrician for repairs before we could safely restore power to them. But those were only about 50 or so, even at that point, situations that we couldn't restore power then and there. And that's those last few customers, that you really dread because they've been suffering, they've been without power, and then they see all of their neighbors get their power all around them and they can't get theirs. And it's difficult to be understanding during the situations, but we can't connect to an unsafe condition. That's our problem. And so we knew we'd have some of that, and sure enough, we did. Mayor Hodson, I can't give enough credit to our operations personnel and all of our Canby utility family that each played a valuable role in restoration of our electric system during that storm. Our field personnel worked long hours in extreme conditions with dogged determination to ease the discomfort we realized the community was under. And I'm just so proud of all of our team members and the pride and concern with which they handled this tough storm situation. You know, the very best comes out in utility workers under the worst conditions, and this storm was no exception to that. I'd also like to recognize some of our partners who each played a real integral role in helping for the benefit of our community during that ice storm. Jerry Nelzine and his folks in Public Works, you know, as always, they do what they do, and they were working cooperatively with us through the disaster. And we were getting really nervous about the low diesel fuel on our backup generator that powers the pump down at our river intake. And realizing we need more fuel, our guys went down to the river to check on the road going in, and we found that several trees were down on the road going into the riverbed where the fuel tank's located. We could not get fuel deliveries to the tank. We had about a quarter of the tank left, as I recall, based on what I was told. And anyway, first mention of our concerns, you know, Jerry got in his truck and went and actually found a fuel vendor. And I guess I saw him on the road, flagged the guy down and told him we needed him and sent him to us to get a diesel delivery for the intake at our water treatment plant, for our water treatment plant. And that fuel vendor was great, and they dealt with the blocked road and everything and actually shuttled the fuel down and filled the tank for us. And that enabled us to continue running the generator to power the water pump so we could continue with water service. And we never lost water service any time during the storm. And Jerry helped us with that. And that's just typical of Jerry and all of his guys in Public Works. It's just always a good working relationship. Also want to give a plug for Matt English and his first responders. Communications and cooperation was just superb in working this disaster with Canby Fire District. Our fire department stuck closely throughout and assisted us numerous times with different things, and we worked well together. Communications, again, was just great. George Troe and our Canby Canby Police Force, they were there and ready to assist in protecting the public and assisting us in maintaining safety as we dealt with those ice breakage situations and lines on the ground. And also I want to say PGE was just fantastic in communicating with us during this storm. They really bent over backwards to reach out to us and provide us with the vital status reports so that we can accurately understand the timeframes for progress benchmarks. PGE did everything possible to make Canby a priority. And I'll tell you, honestly, it was obvious to me that they felt like Canby was a priority, and they knew that they could have the greatest impact by getting our city up. And they actually put us before their own customers. And that really impressed me. They really came through for us. They were devastated with both transmission and their distribution system. Anyway, we appreciate all those folks at PGE. It was just a really superb group effort. And I also want to recognize our mayor and Scott Archer and Melissa Bissett for all of the assistance that you gave me receiving my frequent updates and disseminating the messages that needed to be put out into our community. Melissa placed our news release on your city Facebook page. That really helped, and we all worked together throughout much of the day on Sunday, getting the regular status reports out to our community. And I tell you, with the communications breakdowns we had, where internet was out a lot of the time and cell service was on and off, but with all of us working together, we persevered and we got the word out, and I think our community was pretty pleased with that. Lastly, I want to give you our most recent status report as of virtually right now. PGE was able to restore power to our Knights Bridge substation at approximately 5:30 this morning. We had shifted virtually all of what normally is served off of Knights Bridge onto Westcott, and we had no problems with that. The power was good, clean, stable, all on Westcott substation. So thankfully, that substation was built with additional capacity prepared to meet the growing demand in the industrial park. And that paid off for us in this, together with the good luck that Westcott came on first. Let's see what else to say about that. As of closing today, my operations manager, Doug Erkson, he told me that we're fully back to normal with both substations serving that portion of our system that they normally serve during normal operations. Now, we still have 20 to 30 folks here in our community, 20 to 30 meters that still have not been turned back on, and these are due to damage to the service entrances on their homes or their buildings, such as the masthead, having been torn away from its place on the roof edge. And we can't restore power to a structure like that where there's an unsafe condition. And so those have to wait for owner's repairs to be approved, and it's ready to hook back up. And we'll make it a priority, though, to get those reconnected just as soon as they get their electrician out there and get them ready. And again, that's the handful that we always have left in these situations, and they've been through a lot. And it grieves us all that that they have to be the last ones to come on because of having extra damage to their homes, And so we're sticking close to those customers. And with that, I'd be happy to take any questions and discuss what we experienced with you.
Well, Dan, thank you very much for being here tonight and giving us the update. And thank you to you and the entire Canby utility team. Your communication and the response was phenomenal. I think all around, I know Chief Davis is on here as well, and he'll speak next. But I had a lot of emails come in asking about response and the emergency response of the city and all the agencies. And I have to say, without a doubt, once again, I saw our agencies respond quickly and efficiently to this particular crisis in spades. So, and I really do appreciate your leadership there at Canby Utility. So thank you to you, and thank you to your entire staff and team over there for getting Canby back online. So thank you very much.
Well, likewise, Mayor. Appreciate all the support we receive from the city. We're tied at the hip, and we share a mission. So we're all glad that this is over, and hopefully we won't get another one of these type of storms this year. It's PGE stated a couple of times that it's the worst damage to their system that they've experienced, in over 50 years. So, and then now Texas is really going through it also. And it's just looks like a pretty rough winter. But I'm just so proud of our community. I've been here 5 years, and I lived here. I live on Laurelwood Loop. And but I really got to know Canby through this, and we have great people. It's a great community. People really care about each other, and they step up for each other. And the entire community just worked this storm together, and everybody pulling in the same direction, organizations and people, our neighbors, all of us. And it's just, that's a good way to get to know your community. And it's humbling to know how good Canby is,
For sure. Well, thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. And if any of the other counselors want to, Councilor Parker?
Yeah, Dan, following the social media, your crews really became some heroes. They appreciate what you did and the humanity of it. I was overhearing some of your workers talk to neighbors. They took the time to try and explain what was going on. That goes such a long way with people. So I appreciate that. Tim Dale's not here, so I'll have to tell the story that for many years, and Dan, way before you were here, the funny story about the Westcott substation was that it was grossly overbuilt, that it was based upon estimates for usage in the industrial park that some people said would never be built. But what do you know, this past week that overcapacity actually turned out to be a good thing.
It surely did, Councilor Parker. It did. And again, it was just lucky that Westcott was able to come on first, because we don't have that excess capacity at Knightsbridge. And then there would have been about half of our system, half of our people. in the town that, would have had to sit and wait a significant amount of additional time. And I was dreading that prospect. So, hey, it's better to be lucky any day in my experience. So.
Thank you, Dan. I appreciate you coming on and giving us an update. And again, great job. Thank you.
Well, thank you all.
Bye. Chief Davis.
Okay, I am here.
There you are, Chief.
Thanks, Melissa. Well, Mayor and City Council, it's been a challenge. Thank you to the Canby community again for, pulling together like we always do in putting the city back together again as far as debris and everything. On the 12th of February, we did experience one of the worst ice storms in over 50 years. And I would like to thank the mayor, the city administrator, for pulling together to initiate the disaster declaration, which sends that up to the county and to the state, making them aware of the situation for any additional resources. The fire board also passed and signed a declaration at the same time that the city signed their disaster declaration. I contacted Captain Tro and Gonzalez, and they immediately went to the police department and initiated a partial emergency operations center, which helping out quite a bit temporarily, trying to get fuel moving for the city, as well as for the fire department, police department, public works, by contacting Nelson, the fuel company down by Pacific Pride. They ended up being extremely helpful in getting fuel to our emergency generators, as well as to the city and to Canby Utility. So thank you, Captain Sharon Gonzalez, for the support. The fire district called back all off-duty paid personnel. We received most of the off-duty paid personnel as well as a number of volunteer firefighters on Friday. The fire district put into service all three of our medic units, which ended up being crucial to our being able to treat numerous patients. We staffed each day a minimum of 8 firefighters along with about 3 to 4 volunteer firefighters until yesterday. So firefighters in some cases were working 72 to 96 hour shifts, and they were not able to catch any shut-eye in between because medic units were responding on numerous calls. The firefighters and chiefs responded to over 180 calls in 3 days for service. A majority of these calls were live power lines down, both in the city and in the rural area. As medic units or as fire units were responding to these calls, we ran into falling trees on a regular basis, almost striking my vehicle as one, as well as numerous fire trucks, but they stood out there and cleared Highway 170, Bernards Road. Wherever trees went down, they tried to open up a passageway for the emergency crews to be able to get to the addresses. On Saturday night, we also learned, as we were clearing a smoke in the building call at the Foursquare Church, that the railroad track was shut down by trees on the railroad track with a freight train stalled in the middle of Canby, blocking most of the exits or crossings going across Highway 99. And we also learned later that there was a major transmission line down on top of the train. So even if they had cleared the train tracks, they were still stalled until that transmission line by the old Logging Road Bridge could be cleared off of the train. At one point on the 13th, we had 29 calls pending. So on our MDCs, you can actually look down, and we literally were taking and prioritizing those calls, one call after another, until we could clear those calls. On Saturday night, unfortunately, we did have 2 cardiac arrests in a row. And in both cases, unfortunately, neither patients lived, which was a tough one in the surviving families, helping the surviving families through that as well. The public works crews led by Jerry Nelzine did a great job and continue to do a great job. Communications are daily with public works and with Jerry, and the city administrator has been the cooperation has been tremendous. The Canby utility crews themselves work quickly. In one case, after power was restored, had a minor down power line, went around the corner, and there was a crew there. That crew member instantly turned around and took care of the problem. So great job to the crews at Canby Utility. To all the police, firefighters, Canby utility workers, dispatchers up at our 911 center, public works, I can't say enough about these people. They truly worked extremely hard, especially our 911 dispatchers taking in well over 3,000 calls in a 24-hour period. Our major issues were obviously power, and it still is in the rural areas. We have a lot of people without power, have not had showers, for quite some time. Water for their horses and animals, as well as drinking water for themselves. Fuel for police, fire, and public works. I can't say enough about our local vendor for providing us fuel and coming down and refilling our fire trucks. And at one point, our fire trucks were down to about a quarter of a tank of diesel in our fire trucks and our medic units. Getting oxygen to people. Now, there's a lot of senior citizens out there, and they all have the portable oxygen tanks, as well as generators that generate oxygen to them. Well, those battery packs only last a couple hours. And so we were receiving the 911 calls of running out of oxygen, taking all of our spare tanks out to them or transporting them to the local hospitals. And at one point, we had 5 to 6 ambulances lined up at Willamette Falls Hospital with patients waiting to go into the emergency room. And then Willamette Falls Hospital experienced a main break. And so we had to divert patients to other hospitals as they could only take the critical patients at Willamette Falls. Drinking water, fill stations were set up at our fire station for drinking water immediately for people to fill containers. And we now have a fill site set up at the fairgrounds for people to fill water. So just in front of the fairgrounds, you'll see a white hose on a bib, and that's drinking water for people to be able to fill up. Cell phone service. Obviously, you may have experienced it yourself. Verizon was down, and that was caused by battery backups only lasting so long and then the towers going down. T-Mobile and in other areas in the rural area, all cell phone service was down, causing a significant 911 outage for people to be able to call in emergencies, as well as their internet being down. Debris, the debris in the roadways and cleanup. Right now, Public Works has set up 3 sites, one at Ackerman, one at Maple Street Park, and one down by Public Works. And if you've been by there, just about all of them are full. So Jerry and Public Works continue to work on those issues. Tonight, PGE shared on the news that they hope to have 90% of the power restored by Friday in Clackamas County. We continue to experience carbon monoxide poisonings. We had 6 patients, 2 unconscious at one apartment house in Canby, and Gladstone had 6, and 4 of those people, 4 of the 6 did die from carbon monoxide poisoning. Oregon City had 2 in an RV parked in Oregon City. Lesson learned here is we really need to do a better job in regards to public education, both in English and in Spanish, as far as what to do and not to do, as far as use of propane burners and generators inside structures. Water for animals and for people have been set up at the fairgrounds and the fire stations. We continue to deliver oxygen on calls through 911. And when we can't provide the oxygen, we transport those patients to the hospital. The Canby Adult Center was contacted, and I talked to Kathy yesterday as well as again today from the Canby Adult Center. And Meals on Wheels was ahead of the curve, delivered meals prior to the storm to senior citizens. And today was the first day they were back delivering, and she reported no problems on any of the seniors that they are delivering to today. We continue to attend the daily city and county emergency management meetings, which are very helpful. And we give reports for Canby as well as listen to other cities and things that they're doing to recover. And we have contacted DEQ for asking them to open burning or at least allow more hours of burning. We changed our burn message, allowing people to do backyard burn and open burn as long as it's out at nighttime, or at least the flames are under control. Otherwise, people have to be there with the fire until it's fully out. I don't know how much longer DEQ. Well, I'm waiting for a call from DEQ, put it that way, in regards to the open burning, but I feel in a disaster mode, we don't have much of a choice but to allow people to get rid of the debris, or we just create a larger fire hazard in our community. So I'm willing to take on that call. And debris, as far as if we do get shut down for burning, that could become an issue in regards to what do we do with that debris. Wilsonville has a shredder, basically and a machine that they are able to clear quite a bit of debris up in a matter of hours by that shredder, and then they can use the remains of that for other things. We continue to work on showers for the community for those people that have been without water. I know that Molalla is using their aquatic center for showers for people that have been without power. And lastly, I know that the city administrator is in full support of doing a full debrief of this incident, because we can say that this may never happen again, but this is a prelude to me as far as preparing for a large-scale event like an earthquake. And fortunately, we didn't have the temperatures as bad as they're having in Texas, which would have presented some more difficulties for us as far as warming shelters. But I think there's a lot of lessons that we can learn from this that will help us do a better job if we have another ice storm of this magnitude, or even a very large earthquake. So thank you very much, and I'm here to answer any questions you may have.
Chief, I don't have any question for you other than just to say thank you to you and your crews as well. Tremendous effort across the board for all of the Canby Fire. So thank you for your leadership and your crew's leadership as well.
Well, thank you.
Councilor Bangs.
I would just add, Chief, please extend to your entire fire department how appreciated the whole city is of the work that you and all of your the various people that helped you. Where also I applaud your decision on the burning, yeah, I just think that's a good call. I just wanted to say that. Thank you for that.
Thank you.
All right.
Well, thank you. I've got to get going to a fire on Malala, so we'll see you later.
That doesn't stop. Thanks, Chief. Next citizen input piece is a letter that came in this evening. I believe Melissa has forwarded it on to all of you counselors as well, but I will take a moment, and it was asked to be read tonight. The letter or email comes from Peter Hostetler. So it says, "Dear counselors, given the fact the library sale hasn't been traditionally marketed, it leaves a lot of room for questions. Why is it that even the new city councilors have so few questions regarding the sale of a public asset for 1/3 of its value? Why wasn't a commercial appraisal or other evidence of market value given at the public hearing on February 3rd, 2021 per ORS 221.725? Why, after 12 months deciding and negotiating, was there no time to post a public hearing in the local newspaper, but staff had to rush to get it to the state newspaper, or so they said? Why would Councilor Spoon advocate for a short timeline for proposals last January per the recorded minutes? Why would the proposer with the lowest offer be selected? Why was there no measurable criteria in the selection process? How did the city ensure a fair and equitable consideration of all proposals without measurable criteria? Given the fact that the city has squandered this property since 2016, trying to decide what to do with it and what or who was worthy of it, we are to the point that city staff have, in their own words, justified the lower sales price because the property is now in disrepair. This is mind-blowing and aggravating to no end as a citizen who pays a ton of property taxes and city fees. City staff and ultimately the councilors have admitted to letting a property go into disrepair and thus needing to sell it for less than its market value. In a process that is into its 5th year, what is a few more months to market it with a professional broker on platforms that have buyers? We could still get a very good proposal at no doubt a better price. Since May 2020, city staff have refused to look at other proposals for this property. The city councilors have need to understand that though this process has been going on for 5 years, the ability to submit an offer has been limited to months. No one can keep track of what the city is doing with this property, not even the city, since it has gone into disrepair. City staff have failed to reach out to all previous parties of interest. All current and future commercial property owners will be detrimentally affected by this below market sale. Commercial appraisals are determined off of the most current comparable sales in a given area. By selling the property at this price, it will negatively affect all current and future sales and commercial properties. By undervaluing this property, you will affect the ability to finance and rehabilitate other surrounding commercial properties in Canby. In a process that has taken years, fraught with frustration, settling on this sale at this price is just taking the easy way out. To be above reproach and suspicion, to be responsible and thorough, the citizens of Canby deserve a professional broker to market and negotiate on their behalf. City staff have lots of responsibilities, and to ask them to effectively market and sell this property without the tools that professional brokers have at their disposal was placing too much pressure and responsibility on them. The sale must be terminated, a professional broker selected, a property properly marketed, and the best proposal chosen. That's from Peter Hostetler. Next on the public comment piece is Tyler Smith, I believe, on the same topic.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
I've shared my screen if they want me to. I don't see it popping up, but.
Like to be on video, sir? Is that what you're asking? Tyler, if you want to, there you are.
Great, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, Council President, councilors. And I want to talk to you a little bit, again, about the old library building here. I know there's two aspects to this. One is the legality of this and the legal issues, which I believe you're probably aware of. But I wouldn't want to talk about that as much tonight. I'd like to talk to all of you as on the public policy side to this. As you know, this building is proposed to be sold for $500,000. Worst case, if there's a penalty and the improvements that you've asked aren't put into it, it goes up another $100,000 to $600,000. This is for a property that was appraised over 4 years ago at $952,000. Right now, the Clackamas County tax assessor assesses this property at over $1.4 million. And that's for 2 lots in one of the most prime blocks of our entire city. I would submit to you that this should be very disturbing to the public. What we've done is asked for a number of public records requests to, 1, dig into the legality of this, but 2, more importantly, to hopefully point out to all of you that we need a significant policy change on this. As I put in my letter to all of you, which I hope you've been given, is that I expressed concerns with this process back in 2017 when I was a city councilor. Many of you know that. Many of you know that these bids that are currently being entertained, apparently in the last few months, were far, far, far below the bids that were submitted in 2017. I sure hope you were all made aware of that. But what she should also know, Councilor Spoon is a real estate agent. She probably knows this as much as anybody on the council, that this was not publicly marketed. This was not professionally marketed. What I know personally, and some of my clients know, I'm here on my own personal capacity of my law firm, and clients that I have, that prior interested parties who expressed interest in this property, that even went and toured the property when Renata was showing the property, were not contacted about this. As Mr. Hostetler pointed out, in the 70 some odd months this has been up for discussion, it's only been on and off and on and off again, listed and known to be possibly available for 3 of those 70 months. As a public policy, that is not a way to get the best proposals, nor to get the best for price. So this on-again, off-again process with no professional, no public marketing, and basically what I think amounts to a sort of a secret marketing that was done to the known developers of Renata back in 2017 is not how we should be stewarding or disposing of public property that the taxpayers have paid for. And with that, Mr. Mayor, I will reserve future appearances to point out the things that we find through the public records request. But what we'd ask is that you guys hold off on the sale of this property for this fire sale and wait and publicly market this so you can get a fair, open, and transparent competitive market price.
Sorry. Tyler, thank you very much. Appreciate the comment, sir. I think that's all that I'm aware of, Melissa, in terms of community announcements and input. I do see a phone number on the attendees. I don't know if that's someone that's just in watching or if they're wanting to speak.
Watching.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Next on the agenda this evening is mayor's business. I'll try to be brief. I again want to say, just reiterate and say thank you to Canby Utility, our fire department, our police, city staff, our public works team for their just tremendous efforts and hard work here this last week with the ice storm. I was unfortunately out of town and was watching it through social media and the news, and working with city manager and Jerry and Dan Murphy, the general manager of Canby Utility, from afar. But the work was amazing. We responded as Canby does in spades. And I also want to say thank you to the residents of Canby. We had electricians helping people wire generators to their homes. We had roving crews of chainsawed trucks clearing paths, clearing homes. We had a group of young men come by the house and clear branches off my daughter's friend's car so that she could get out. It was amazing stories of that, of providing food. Mr. Smith, that was just on, set up coffee and hot chocolate station at his house for people to come by and warm up in his house and backyard. Just stories upon stories, again, of Canby stepping up and doing incredible feats. We've had to do that way too much here this past year. And so the citizens of Canby, I thank you for your efforts in checking on each other and caring for each other as we do. So thank you for that. The park board front, their meeting last night was canceled because a couple of members were still without power and not able to jump in and be a part of that. For C4, so the Clackamas County Coordinating Committee, a couple of pieces. Myself and Chair Savas, at direction of the C4 committee, submitted a letter to the Joint Policy Advisory Committee on Transportation, which is a Metro policy organization subcommittee. And the idea and the concept is to add the Wilsonville Smart Transportation to the table for policy and regarding transportation issues in the metro area. Why this is significant is that right now the only transportation body on there is Metro, and it's the TriMet is the only one that's on there right now. So getting Smart on there with their connectivity to much of rural Clackamas County is a good thing to have happen. So we submitted a letter supporting them being added. We also had a very lengthy conversation on tolling. So just a couple of pieces that, as this conversation continues to go on, kind of come out. And so a couple of pieces. One was that House Bill 2017, when that was passed, it directed ODOT to look at options for funding projects like the Rose Quarter and I-205, and tolling was one of those tools, I guess you could say, for to be looked at. But it's been full steam ahead with tolling, not just in terms of looking at it as a tool, but as it being the only tool. And so, again, as that's kind of the messaging changed from just looking at it to being the only path, there's now kind of this pushback on, is tolling the only way to go? We also learned that the diversion improvements that would occur or need to occur as people will use Highway 99 or the back roads between perhaps Clackamas and Canby to avoid the tolling sections, the improvements that would be made along those roads would not be funded initially. That to do tolling would require ODOT to go into debt first to put in all the infrastructure for the tolling, start tolling, and then pay back the debt for all the tolling infrastructure to be put in, then to pay for the now bonding or financing that was done to pay for, example, the 205 expansion, and then what was left from that, monthly, quarterly, annually, would then be used to put towards the diversion projects that myself and many of the other mayors have been discussing with ODOT on. And so that was interesting conversation and raised quite a bit of ire on the C4 committee. And finally, learning and having conversation of the fact that right now, for the 205 expansion and additional lanes to happen, that may not happen without tolling being the tool that is used to make that happen. So some very interesting conversation here at the last C4 meeting regarding that topic. So again, it's a long road yet to get there. But I think as these things come out and in terms of how this may or may not be a viable option. When you look at the 205 tolling piece and the windows that they're going to toll, a majority of those employed in Clackamas County work in Multnomah and Washington County. And so that's a huge lift on the residents of Clackamas County to fund that. So obviously tons more to come in on this one, but again, interesting conversation at C4. Finally, I want to congratulate, I don't know if Julie is still there at City Hall in our meeting, but want to congratulate our finance department and our finance director on being awarded again the, I believe it's the GAFEO, the general, Scott, you'll have to break that down for me, but basically our finance department was recognized again for an outstanding preparation of our budget. And there he is. Scott, what is the GAFEO award?
GFOA, that's Government Finance Officers Association. And this is,
thank you.
Yeah, this is the national organization that recognizes excellence in public agency budgeting. So we've been
Yeah, so this is this 3 years running now that our team has won this?
4 is the number
4.
I'm told.
Pardon me, 4 years in a row that Julie and her team have been recognized for their great work with our city budgeting and our auditing processes. So thank you, Julie, for your hard work, and thank the team for us, will you please? That is all that I have. We'll move into councilor comments and liaison reports. I want to start in my upper right-hand corner, and that is Councilor Spoon.
I don't have anything this week, Mr. Mayor. I just want to echo everything everyone's already said about all of the great work, city staff, Canby Fire, Cub, the community at large. It was really spectacular to see everyone come together, and I appreciate everyone's work on that.
Great, thank you. Councilor Bangs?
So the Canby School District met again after our last meeting. The big news remains they're coming back into in-person schooling. The dates have changed slightly. March 1st appears to be the new date targeted for K through 3rd in-person instruction, with a continued phased return to in-person school March 8th and March 29th. March 29th would be the day all 13 grades would be in-person instruction. There are still some issues going on with how that would work at the middle school and high school, involving like full day hybrid or morning hybrid, meaning in-person instruction in the mornings and then online instructions in the afternoon. It appears as though we can't have everybody in the building at once and obey the state guidelines. I don't know what effect Clackamas County getting dropped from the highest risk category to the next highest risk category plays. So I guess that's all in a factor there. The budget committee has also met. The district looking at $168 million budget, but does not know yet how much money the state's going to be providing for them. And the federal government also has, I think like $168 billion pending in state and local aid, which would be a factor. So we don't know if there's going to be budget cuts this year or next year or not. The budget is a 2-year budget, as is typical in Oregon because of the way our legislature works. There is an interesting series of controversies going on between some of the board members and the superintendent that took up a fair bit of time at the last meeting, the whole series of letters. There were actually 6 votes not to investigate formal complaints. 4 of them directed against one city councilor, and 2 of them directed against the superintendent one of them was by that same city, I'm sorry, school board member, not city councilor. Yeah, I'm not going to get into what those controversies are, but it has certainly taken up a fair bit of time in the school board meeting lately, which made me feel good about the stuff we've been talking about in the city council. Like we're in good shape compared to our school board right now. The library committee hasn't met since the first time in January I did have an opportunity to sit down with Danny Smith for an hour and talk about some library issues, including budgeting, which is the biggest concern with the library, as is typical of a whole bunch of city and other government services. But that's it.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Councillor Hensley?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You've already covered C4, so I don't need to get into that. I do want to echo the appreciation of not just the utility people, but just the community at large. It makes me proud to serve this town. I love the Canby way and how we always pull together. So thank you to everyone who's been helping our neighbors. Traffic Safety Commission, we had a couple of citizens come forward with some issues. So they're going to be investigating a speeding issue on North 10th and Birch, as well as the Enterprise Rent-A-Car issue has come up again over on the Southwest 2nd, cars being parked on all the neighborhood streets. So that will be looked into. And I also brought forward, at the request of Councillor Bangs, the issue of 2nd being such a narrow street and buses and trucks traveling on it. So that will be investigated as well. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Councillor Verwig.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, likewise, I don't have very much tonight, but also wanted to just give a shout out to every community member here in Canby. I was so impressed and so blown away by, and I don't know why, because it's common of Canby, but I was just blown away this weekend by everybody's kindness and love for each other. To see neighbors helping other neighbors, cutting trees and branches and feeding each other and just visiting. When you're in the dark for a couple of days, it can get depressing, and especially this time of year, a lot of people struggle with that anyways. And so to see neighbors checking on neighbors, and I received a message through Instagram of all places of somebody saying, "Hey, I think your neighbor's with my parents. Can you check on them? I haven't been able to get a hold of them." And being able to respond on there, and Canby is an amazing community. And as Council President Hensley mentioned, it's just such a blessing to be able to serve this community. I'm just incredibly proud of all of you, Canby. So thank you for all of you that helped your neighbors, your family. And I know we have some rural neighbors that are still without, so don't stop now. Let's keep helping people out. And I know I mentioned on a Facebook post earlier, my hose is available for anybody that needs water. So, and I know that I'm not alone in that. There's so many people around this community that just want to help. So however you need help, let us know. We're here to help you. So those of you that are still without power, you're probably not seeing this message, but hopefully it gets to you somehow that we're here to help. So good job, Canby.
Thanks, Councillor Varga. I appreciate it. Councillor Parker.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and I'm happy you're home safe. So we missed your presence here in Canby, even though it was during some difficult snow, but we're glad to have you back. The chief already mentioned this, but one of the big things in the fire service is after-action reports. And I've already talked to our city administrator about this, and he said he's done these before and certainly is prepared to engage in this sort of thing. Part of becoming a disaster resilient community is having an opportunity like this to take a look at what we've learned. And my suggestion to staff is to think bold. What can we do to harden ourselves even more? Backup generators, pre-announced situations with water, And we've got this beautiful new city hall. What would it take for us to put generators in that so that it can be a warming center and serve our community? So I hope the after action review comes back to us, and that we get an opportunity to take a look at it and have a budget note for what we can invest in terms of this sort of thing happening again. And yes, that we had the right people at the right time. Chief Davis with his loads of experience, our police force with terrific command experience. And of course, people talked about Jerry at Public Works and how clever he is. And Jerry, of course, was recently promoted to interim Public Works Director. But I did want to give a shout out to Spencer, who has taken a lead role in Public Works, and by all reports, really stepped up. So thank you, Spencer. And as I was driving down to Cutsford to buy some lettuce for dinner afterwards, I noticed that there were some citizens, volunteers at Waite Park helping cut wood and haul it away. So part of this Canby story that we're talking about.
Thanks, Craig. Councilor Tibbles.
Yeah, it's hard to follow and encore all the previous counselors before me, but I would just echo those points and just say that when I first moved here, my wife talked about why she wanted to raise our children here, and it's weekends like this that really show me why. And so, really grateful for all the hard work and the volunteers. That was another thing I noticed, Councilor Parker, was the next day out while we were still mid-storm, people were cleaning up the park and asking for, hey, where can we get tree drop zones? Because not all of us have trucks, so there's a fleet of trucks moving other people's wood and helping people out. So it's amazing to see, and I think it will continue to see it for the weeks to come because there's plenty of wood to still move. For reports, I went to the February 9th meeting with the Cub meeting. I would like to start with the departure of Jack Brito for retiring from the board. I obviously am new to the liaison role as well as a counselor, but I know I can speak for all of us in applauding any Canby citizen who steps up to serve the community. And from what I gather, it has been he's been there for quite some time, and the board really appreciated his input and contribution. So I wanted to acknowledge his service to the community. Another thing that was worth sharing, kind of in showing how Canby comes together as a community, is the Share the Warmth program. The Share the Warmth program last year in 2020, for those of you who are not familiar with it, it's a program where individuals fall on hard times and have a difficulty paying their utility bills. And it's a completely donation-based program where your neighbors can come alongside you and donate to help you through those hard times. So in 2020, there was $10,520 in donations shared for 2020, just out of the goodness of other people's hearts and helping people that weren't able to pay for those bills. And for 2020, 2021, we've already received 8,000. So it seems the generosity is growing in momentum, and was very, very excited to learn of that program and to see that it's flourishing. So I just wanted to share that with Canby as well.
Great. Thanks, Councilor Tibbles. Appreciate it. Next on the agenda is the approval of the consent agenda.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve the consent agenda, which consists of the approval of the minutes of the February 3rd, 2021 City Council regular meeting, the appointment of Timothy Gustafson to the Canby Utility Board, the annual liquor license renewals, and the addition of the off-premises liquor license for Oddmo's Pizza located at 1017 Southwest 1st Avenue.
And I'll second that, Mayor.
Thank you. Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Parker to approve the consent agenda, which includes the minutes of the February 3rd, 2021 City Council regular meeting, the appointment of Tim Gustafson to the Canby Utility Board, the annual liquor license renewals, and an off-premise liquor license for Odd Mo's Pizza. Any comments or discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes 6-0. Moving into resolutions and ordinances, the first one this evening is resolution number 1344, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. And Scott, I think you're up. You're muted, sir.
There we go. Thank you. Mayor and Council, this is a supplemental budget to make some adjustments during the course of an existing budget year, as is normal process. And I'd like to ask Finance Director Julie Blums to just give you a quick walkthrough of what the supplemental budget includes, and then we'd be happy to answer any questions.
Scott, well, Julie's walking up. We're getting a lot of fading on the microphone there. Like it's cutting in and out. I don't know if that's a positioning of the microphone or.
Yeah, pull it closer.
Thank you. Does that sound better?
That does, yes.
Okay. Noted. Thank you. We'll try to make sure. Thanks for letting us know that. It's hard to know from this end what you're hearing sometimes on that end. So please don't hesitate to give us a heads up on that. We'll try to continue to work on that.
Thank you. Hi, Julie.
Good evening, Mayor, councilors again. All right, so tonight you have before you a supplemental budget. We're doing a mid-year update this year. Lots of things going on this year. The first and foremost is our CARES money. When we were awarded that, it was after budget time last year. And so we were not able to put it into our actual budget document. So we've got revenue coming in as well as the expenses to offset it that will be from grant funds. Is that better?
I think so.
So that's the first item. The second item is for our parks. The splash park spilled over into this fiscal year. We thought it would be done or farther along than it was by June 30th. And so we just need to move over those expenditures and the offsetting transfer from our SDC fund. And then we also have some additional projects that the Parks Board would like us to work on before year end. That money will come out of the Parks Maintenance Fee Reserve. Another item is for our administration and our court departments. So earlier this year, sorry, we're playing with, is that better? Earlier this year, we made a change to help with our city attorney. He was trying to do both our prosecutor role and our city attorney role, which is enough for probably 3 people. And so we went ahead and decided to hire a contracted prosecutor and let Joe actually work on city business. And so this is a reallocation of his costs that would have normally gone to our court is going to be in our administration department. So we're just transferring that appropriation between the two departments. The next one is we have some savings in our HR department, in my department, and in economic development. that we are able to offset the cost. We have a couple really big retirements and separations this year. And we always budget a certain amount for our retirements each year, and it is not enough this year. So we're just moving the appropriation around to cover those costs for the year. And then the last item is for our sewer fund. When the primary clarifier project came before you, again, it was after the point we were at the budget to be able to include the actual bid cost. And it was a little bit more than what we estimated. So this is just to accommodate that additional cost that you've already approved when you approved the contract. So any questions?
No, again, Julia, thank you for, it's been a while since we've had to do quite this expansive of an adjustment, but there's been some shifting and whatnot going on. So yeah, gotta balance the books.
We do. We'll probably do one more in June, I bet.
That's generally the case. And we do have some budget stuff coming up, do we not?
We do. Oh, you're going to ask me the dates, aren't you?
Nope, I wasn't going to, not at all.
Okay,
because I know
good.
we have it in our emails.
It's in May.
Oh, lots of time.
Yes.
Okay.
Mr. Mayor,
Perfect. Yes.
I move for the adoption of Resolution 1344 and a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the fiscal year 2020 to 2021.
I second that.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Parker to approve resolution number 1344, a resolution adopting a supplemental budget for the 2020-2021 fiscal year. Any discussion? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0. Next up is ordinance number 1543, an ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 2.04.010 regarding council regular meetings by changing the starting time of regular meetings at a time to be set by the Canby City Council with an effective date of March 17th, 2021, and repealing and replacing ordinance number 1474 in second reading. Scott, did you want to give the background on this or the refresher?
Certainly, Mayor and Council. This is a second reading. We gave you a full report at the last meeting when you approved your first reading of the ordinance. And essentially, this repeals your existing ordinance and basically gives you flexibility to start your council meetings at a time that you would determine. There was discussion around making it a specific time, but the recommendation was made to you that this language in this ordinance change gives you the flexibility so that if you should need to change meeting times in the future, that flexibility is built in and we don't have to come back and do an ordinance change again. So rather than stating a specific time, it's just generally allowing you to establish your meeting times. And again, it's just a second reading, so we'd be happy to answer any other questions you might have.
All right. Thank you, Scott. Any follow-up questions on this matter? No? Okay.
Mr. Mayor, I move for the adoption of ordinance number 1543, an ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 2.04.010 regarding council regular meetings by changing the starting time of regular meetings at a time to be set by the Canby City Council with an effective date of March 17, 2021, repealing and replacing ordinance number 1474.
Oh, second.
Motion is made again by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varwig to approve ordinance number 1543, an ordinance amending Canby Municipal Code, Chapter 2.04.010 regarding council regular meetings by changing the starting time of regular meetings at a time to be set by the Canby City Council with an effective date of March 17th, 2021, repealing and replacing ordinance number 1474, and roll call vote.
Councillor Banks?
Sorry. No.
Counselor Hensley,
Aye.
Counselor Parker,
Aye.
Counselor Spoon,
Aye.
Counselor Tibbles,
Aye.
Barwig.
Aye.
Great. Motion carries 5-1. Next up is ordinance number 1544, an ordinance authorizing the Canby City Administrator to enter into a contract with Canby Library Holdings, LLC, to sell the former city library building located at 292 North Holly Street, declaring it no longer needed for public use and finding it convenient to sell said property. So second reading. Scott?
Mr. Mayor and Council, again, this is a second reading. We reviewed the details of this ordinance at your last meeting, so I will not go through all those details again. I will just say that Jamie Stickle, our Economic Development Director, is here to help answer any questions that you may have, but there are no changes to this proposed ordinance since the last meeting.
Great. Thank you, Scott. Any follow-up questions? Again, this is, like Scott had said, we're selling the old library location to a company that's going to come in and renovate it and put a business in the building in our downtown core. Very exciting opportunity ahead, I think, for that piece of property. And I know we had some conversation earlier during public comment, but I still think it's a very great opportunity and another win for our downtown. So, Councilor Parker?
Well, two things. And actually, Councilor Spoon is the one who gave me the idea on this, which is that in the past several years, this appears to be about the most popular thing that the Canby City Council has done. And I'll let Sarah elaborate on that. But let me also go on and thank staff, especially Joe Lindsay, who prepared the contract language, and particular Jamie Stickle, who took the direction of the council, 7 people, and was able to negotiate with Oregon City Brewing. Not an easy task, and she did it. And this now belongs fully in her portfolio. This is something that she did. So, Jamie, Joe, thank you for excellent staff work.
Thank you, Councilor Parker. Councilor Spoon, did you want to elaborate on?
Yeah, that's kind of Councilor Parker, but no, I think I've been talking to a lot of people and seeing the talk and online, and this seems to be very well liked by the community. And I think everyone's excited as in the past 6-8 years, the change in our downtown core, and it's becoming a place that people go and spend time for longer periods of time, and to have a business in that place that's going to be open on the evenings and the weekends and add to that vibrancy is going to help us just continue to attract more and more great businesses. So I'm excited for it. I think it's a good project for our community. And like Councilor Parker, really appreciate the extensive staff work that was done on this over years. I'm really pleased with the outcome.
Great.
I likewise agree with all those sentiments, and therefore, Mr. Mayor, move that we adopt ordinance number 1544, an ordinance authorizing the Canby City Administrator to enter into a contract with Canby Library Holdings, LLC, to sell the former library building located at 292 North Holly Street, declaring it no longer needed for public use and finding it convenient to sell said property.
Second.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley, seconded by Councilor Spoon, to approve ordinance number 1544, an ordinance authorizing the Canby City Administrator to enter into a contract with Canby Library Holdings, LLC, to sell the former city library building located at 292 North Holly Street, declaring it no longer needed for public use and finding it convenient to sell said property. Roll call vote.
Counselor Banks,
Mr. Mayor, I believe the discussion is in order before the vote.
You are correct, sir. So I will open it up for discussion. Councilor Banks.
Thank you. I would just like to say, in light of the objections leveled by Mr. Smith and Hostetler, that I believe, at least I was satisfied that we did look at a variety of other options, and that this option for the city brings the greatest value, and that value is measured more than in just dollar amounts. We probably could have made more money if we wanted to just sell the building to anybody. But we wanted to sell our downtown, and I think that brings greater value to our town. So I will support this motion when we get to the time where we vote.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate the comments. Any other discussion items? Okay. Is there a call for the vote then? Councilor Parker, thank you. Melissa?
Councilor Banks?
Aye.
Council President Hensley?
Aye.
Councilor Parker?
Yes.
Councilor Spoon?
Aye.
Councilor Tibbles?
Aye.
Councilor Barwig?
Aye.
Thank you. That motion passes 6-0. Under new business is the approval and discussion regarding the declaration of emergency. So this is, I think, a combo piece between Scott and I. So over the weekend, one of the pieces with everything that was going on with the governor issuing a declaration of emergency with the ice and snowstorm, Scott and I, through some conversation, looked at also issuing one for the city, and what that does for the city of Canby is if and when federal funds come available to the state through FEMA, we are in line to be able to access those funds, and that can be for anything from overtime to supplies to other city needs and community needs that might have come up with the ice storm that we've experienced. Scott, am I leaving anything out regarding that?
I think that covers it, Mayor. That's the primary focus here was eligibility for those funds. The declaration of emergency also allows the city to be more nimble and things like contracting and purchasing and so forth. I think in this situation, it was primarily because it was the event itself was a little bit shorter than maybe a typical emergency might be, like, for example, the pandemic situation that is still ongoing. This is more about eligibility for disaster funding that might come down through the federal to state to county level and then out to cities. So it just puts us in the hopper for that.
Perfect. So really, that's not an action that I can take in a vacuum. That's why we bring it at the next available meeting for you to discuss and approve the declaration of emergency. So any questions to start with? Councilor Spoon?
It's not so much a question. I just want to thank you all for being so fleet-footed and quick on this. I was thinking, Mr. Mayor, this is, I think, the third emergency declaration in the last 12 months that you've had to do, and I'm hoping it's the last one for a while. I just appreciate all the work and getting this moving so that we can access anything available to us. Yeah.
It is the third one this year. And I think in my tenure as mayor, I think this is either the fourth or fifth one that I've had to do. So yeah, definitely a high velocity of these this year for sure. So I hope that this is the last one, but we shall see. At least this last one for this year. Councilor Bangs.
Yeah, I just want to echo what Councilor Spoon said and just add how appreciative I am of the leadership of the city as well as all the city workers in getting us through this. In particular, Scott keeping us updated, and Mr. Mayor, I know this hasn't been a great week for you personally, but you were there for our city, and that's big. That's really big to me, and it's really big to our whole community that you were able to put this together. I know none of you guys had electricity either, and so it's really huge for our town and our community what you guys did.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that. we'll entertain a motion to at least approve this declaration, and we'll get it in queue at the state.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve your declaration of emergency regarding the ice storm.
Second.
Motion's been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varway to approve the declaration of emergency for the 2021 ice storm. Any discussion or further comment? No? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0. Thank you, everyone. I appreciate that. Next up on the agenda is city administrator business and staff reports.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just quickly, is this sound coming through better than earlier?
It is now.
We're okay. All right. Again, apologies for that. We're still everything continues to be a fine tuning on this Zoom stuff. So I just have one thing for you this evening, and I won't get into all of the details, but I do want to echo the comments and the sentiments of others this evening in that the city's and the community's response to our weather event this past weekend. In particular, I want to acknowledge our tremendous city staff, our fine folks from the Canby Police Department and our leadership team there under Chief Smith, our Public Works team under Jerry Nelzine's leadership, and so many others in that group. Working with our great partners in the Canby Fire District and then the Canby Utility Board. You heard earlier from Mr. Murphy on behalf of Canby Utility and Chief Davis on the Fire District. And I just want to echo the sentiment of the partnership and the support and appreciation and just the cooperative spirit between our agencies. And we all serve the same community, and we're all intertwined that way. So it really was impressive to see how quickly people just get to work and work so well together. I also want to thank you, Mayor and Council, for your comments and your appreciation of our staff team. I can't echo that enough and say how true that is. That our team is really amazing. That when you think about it too, whether it's our folks from the police department or Public Works or the utility folks, these employees were responding to the emergency while they themselves were dealing with this emergency at their homes and with their families and putting their own personal safety in peril just to get to the work site and back and forth, and still dealing with property damage and some folks still not having power yet that are outside the city limits. So just makes it for me, it's that much more appreciation even when you realize that people that were responding to this emergency themselves were dealing with that on their own personal levels. We, as a city, we continue to work on this in a number of ways. The main work at hand that remains for us is cleanup. And again, Mr. Nelzine and our Public Works team and our Parks team and others are out taking care of all of the lost and damaged trees and the limbs that are down everywhere, focusing primarily on getting our parks safe and cleaned up, and our streets and our right-of-way cleaned up. And so that work will continue for some time. We're working quickly and to the earlier discussion about the declaration of emergency, we're putting in overtime and extensive hours and in order to get this taken care of as rapidly as we can. We continue to be, the city is hosting 2 different drop sites. I think this has been mentioned, but it's worth mentioning again for the community members. There are drop sites for limbs and debris at the Ackerman School site and the Maple Street Park, the main parking lot there. and those lots are filling up quickly with the debris. I went by them earlier, and it was amazing to see how much had already been compiled. And then our public works and our parks teams are as quickly as possible moving that off-site and into other dump areas. But that remains available to the community. And then the last component I want to mention is I think it was brought up in a couple of different conversations with regards to incident review and debriefing and kind of the lessons learned. I just want to ensure you, Mayor and Council, that the city will be taking the lead on a full multi-agency incident review and debrief for this emergency. That'll be taking place probably in the next 2 to 3 weeks once we've sort of got ourselves through the majority of what we're still dealing with here. And that will involve obviously the city, the fire district, Canby utility, and potentially others. But yes, we'll be doing a full debrief and incident review and seeing what lessons learned and what we can do better. We did a great job, so not to take anything away from anybody, but yes, there are always educational components to this. And then we may be looking at recommendations to bring forward. I think perhaps Councilor Parker, you were mentioning this a little while ago, that there might be some recommendations for budgetary components to make sure that we've got all the right pieces in place for future incidents. But again, my kudos to everybody involved, and I thank everyone that had anything to do with responding to this emergency on behalf of Canby. And that's all I've got for you this evening.
Great. Thank you, Scott. I appreciate it. Before moving into citizen input, Melissa asked me to I need to backtrack a second here. So on the consent agenda with the appointment of Tim Gustafson to the Canby Utility Board, we held interviews for that. We did open it. There was only one applicant, and that was Tim Gustafson. He had applied at a previous opening, and he was one of 3 people that applied the last time we had an opening. And the person that we selected at that time was now Canby Utility Chair Melody Thompson. So he came back, and myself and Melody did interview him for that spot. And unfortunately, we were not able to interview him until yesterday, so that's why the name was not in your packet. So those of you that don't know the Gustafson family, they have Gustafson Insurance here in town, and come to find out that Tim's grandfather served on the Canby Utility Board back in the day, and so he was very excited to be joining the Canby Utility Board, and based on what has just transpired, really get in and understand process and operations to hopefully add value in future growth endeavors with Canby Utility. So just wanted to backtrack on that piece. It is another opportunity for citizen input. Melissa, is anyone chime in?
We have no one else signed up, Mayor.
Perfect. Thank you. We'll do action review.
You've approved the consent agenda, approved resolution number 1344, adopted ordinance number 1543 and 1544, and approved the declaration of emergency.
Great. Thank you, Melissa. Did you and your family fare okay in the storm?
Yes, thank you. We were good in Newburgh. Yes.
Good. Thank you for that. I will take a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Was that you, Councilor Varwick? I had my head down. The motion to adjourn has been made by Council President Hensley and seconded by Councilor Varwick. This is a non-debatable motion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? That carries 6-0. Canby, thank you for tuning in. Please take care of each other these next couple of days as we continue to work through this, and have a great couple of weeks. Thank you.